Before you write a novel with AI, watch this video first. There's a lot of controversy today about AI and writing. This video is to provide caution to future AI authors and why the tool may in fact be damaging to their future writing careers. While the concern about AI stealing other authors' work is valid, this focuses on other reasons AI may not be the right tool for those serious about telling compelling stories. I wrote Arithmetic Island: The Cursed Dragon with the help of AI. I think that qualifies me to discuss the usage of AI. My mindset going into it was AI is the future, and therefore I need to learn everything I can about the tool. Here's some things you may not be thinking about that could damage the full potential of the story. First, reading is not the same as writing. To tell a compelling story requires you to get into the perspective of each of our characters. The author needs to understand the character on a deeper level than a reader does. Having AI write the story for you makes this nearly impossible, because you become more of a reader than a writer. Initially, I thought it was cool to ask questions directly to some of my characters. In a prompt, I would describe the character and some of their attributes, and then ask them questions. AI's ability to make this possible seemed like a dream come true. As a bonus, I could even get AI to create images of the characters. The issue I ran into is that none of these things matched up with the vision I had in my head. It caused me to second guess my intuition about the characters. Yes, sometimes it triggered a deep dive into something I hadn't thought of before, but these were like red herrings. They were interesting facts about the characters, but not helpful in providing the context I needed to tell the story. Second, the flow state of reading. Reading a well-written story allows us to fall into a flow state. The unpredictability of AI's text can pull us out of the story. This can happen with a misplaced comma or a phrase that is more intelligent than the collective writing surrounding the passage. The issue is often difficult to catch, as reading it a second time provides the clarity, and then we proceed, often disregarding our initial misinterpretation. AI is not human, so it doesn't write like humans unless trained. AI leaves behind a trail of unnoticed breadcrumbs that can significantly impact our readers by consistently and regularly pulling them out of the experience. And we may not catch those breadcrumbs in edits. Though it might seem like you are saving time with AI, these small gotchas are significant and difficult to catch. AI leaves behind traces of non-human sentences, grammar, and context. Though collective humanity may not understand these jarring elements today, reading AI written stuff repeatedly will eventually expose them. Getting by with AI today may not be so simple in the future. Third, working from nothing is not the same as working with an already given phrase. Every word you write helps you, the writer, understand the story. Every draft includes new neural pathways in our brains to help us connect the plot or character interactions. One thing that became clear in trying to get AI to write entire paragraphs for me versus the ones I wrote myself is insights into the story development. Every word in a novel should be carefully considered. That consideration is difficult to do with a predictive algorithm. These considerations help introduce new characters or highlight world development that would be impossible without starting from nothing. A paragraph or phrase produced by AI means neural pathways that would have developed in our brains didn't have the opportunity to do so. So there's plots and characters and stories that we never think about because AI did the work for us. It's kind of like starting a drawing with something on the page already. If there is a drawing of a dragon and we want a flower, We could use our creative skills to conform the page into a flower instead of a dragon. But those underlying lines and strokes will be there regardless of our skills to make it seem like something else. Though we can technically create a new masterpiece this way, writing a book is already challenging enough. Why create an unnecessary step? Every writer has a unique voice. This voice provides a connection to our audience. That connection, that creates communities. Good stories can bring people together. There's something human about finding commonalities in the media we consume. Up to this point in history, machine-made media has been very noticeable. Its voice has been mechanical and predictable. Though AI today seems less mechanical, it will only ever imitate the organic nature of humanity's origins. AI's voice is not human. Though we may not fully be able to distinguish it today, it is difficult to predict exactly how organic AI's voice will seem tomorrow. You are more capable than AI. You have a voice that deserves to be heard in the organic way and not through some mechanical machine. Tell your story your way. Fifth, AI feedback is not necessarily what you need to improve your story or your writing. After discovering each of the points above, I rewrote my story. This time I was going to do it only using AI to provide academic-style feedback. Initially, there were a lot of positives from this approach. The feedback loop in my writing was instantaneous. I wrote a chapter, then asked AI to provide detailed academic feedback. It took some trial and error to find a good prompt, but I eventually found one that seemed helpful. I finished my first draft in a month. The read-through was promising. A month later, I finished the second draft, and the writing had improved significantly. I then paid for my first beta reader. The reader connected with the story, but they provided feedback that surprised me. I had gone through 2 drafts, and AI never once asked me who the target audience was. Yes, this is a rookie mistake, but something so critical as this should have been asked. Any human being would have asked this question much earlier on in the drafts and edits and that whole process. Though I didn't realize it at the moment, this basically made most of AI's feedback worthless. Another thing I noticed in getting feedback from AI is that it would never challenge me unless I specifically asked it to. I'm a person who can usually handle all styles of feedback. I would ask AI to give me brutal review, which it would. Then I would push back on a few areas, and it would cave to my view. There was no back and forth. It doesn't cause me to question my approach, and more importantly, it didn't lead me to ask the right questions. At this point, I was too deep into the book, and I changed my approach to simply try to wrap it up. I clarified my target audience and wrote the book from that perspective. Because I had already done 2 drafts with a different audience in mind, I failed to meet the expectations of this specific audience. That became clear as I hired a few more beta readers and 2 editors. It was at this time that I realized my actual target audience was other people like me. This book would prove to myself and others that math can inspire compelling stories. I wrote this for other math nerds who wanted math fantasy stories. However, the first 3 edits had already damaged the text by then. As a result, self-publication was the only real viable option. I still love the story and think it's reasonable for my first novel, but it would be foolish to not acknowledge the mistakes. AI's influence seemed helpful at the time, but it slowly tangled the story in a sticky web. And I'm uncertain if it was actually helpful at all. In summary, I understand many people feel like AI unlocks more possibilities because it allows them to pursue forgotten or distant dreams. However, achieving dreams with AI may cause irreversible damage if not approached with sober realism. To be an author requires dedication and diligence regardless of AI's mirages or promises. AI is not a shortcut. In fact, AI's facade may very well prevent you from achieving the dreams it promises. You, the human, are more capable than AI. I believe this will always be true.